There's a quiet wisdom in your still small whisper that is continuously there with you in all your experiences, in all of your life, in all of your energy field. And oftentimes, because we are so disconnected from ourselves and our bodies and our energy, that we can't hear it. So if you found that you're looking for the wisdom that only you can give yourself, and you've just been waiting for the right moment to come back into your body, come back into yourself, come back into what you've always truly known. Today I want to start to talk to you a little bit about how trauma disconnects us from our bodies and how we can begin to somatically re-engage with ourselves and our life so that we can live the lives we're truly meant to live. Hi, if you haven't been here before, my name is Tony. I'm the trauma doula. I'm a medicine worker and somatic guide, and I'm here to bring you back to the life that you want to live and heal after trauma. So I'm here for all the cycle breakers, highly sensitive people, empaths, and black sheeps of the family. So welcome. So the thing that has been resonating in the field space of nervous system resets and somatic intuitive work and all of that stuff is that trauma is living in your body. And the thing to take away from that, the thing to recognize and remember when we're saying that, is that your body has the wisdom and is the keeper of all your experiences in all of your life. Your body is the keeper of the energy. So what the mind forgets, the body knows. Whether that's how to ride a bike, right? Or something as simple as smiling after you've been grieving for a very long time. Our body has the medicine, and really your body is just waiting for you to remember that the medicine is there. And it's waiting for you to remember and understand how to access that medicine. So there's a few things that happen to us when we go into an unsupported state after trauma. Because remember that trauma is often this internalized feeling of not being enough, just not enough. Is this endless cycle of core wounding of just not being enough, not being worthy, not being deserving. Like all these things just kind of sit in the body and in the energy field and play this beat, this energetic sound wave, and the wave has to come back and hit you, right? And again, none of these things are your fault. It's not to say that. It's more to say that because of the way that trauma lives in our bodies and is passed down through the line, we act in ways that say, you're right, I don't deserve that, so I'm not gonna go for that job that pays me more. I'm not worthy, so I'm not gonna be with the person that feels boring, right? Because that boring safety energy can feel kind of similar to people who've experienced a lot of trauma. So there's a couple of things that our body does. You may have heard of fight, flight, freeze as nervous system responses within your body. I call them the North Star. So there are a few ways that our body kind of sinks into long-term trauma responses. So you might be a person when somebody tries you, you might puff up your chest and get angry and get in their face and do all these things, right? So you're a fighter. You're a fighter. You're gonna go out swinging or cursing somebody out. If you're the person that kind of shies away or just is like, I gotta get out of here. I gotta get out of here. You know, you're probably the fleer. You're probably the one that's like, nope. You're probably moved all over the place and all of this. You're like, oh, I'd rather just leave. I'd rather just not be here. You know, you're the fleer, and that is what happens when you experience things that trigger you. Some people are the fawn freeze response, and that is a complicated response because a lot of people are in functional freeze. And functional freeze is just when you can kind of seem like you can fawn, you pretend that everything's okay. You kind of go about your day, you go about the motions, and you do what you have to do. And most of the time you don't do anything you actually want to do. So you might be scrolling a lot, you might be the doom scroll, you might be watching TV, you might just be bed rotting, right? I say these are the North Stars of your triggers because your body is showing you exactly what is happening. And there are equal actions that you can do to shift the energy in your body. So if your body is giving you feedback like, we're angry all the time, who did you want to fight? Who did you really want to fight that you weren't able to fight? Oftentimes our trauma responses in this North Star of our fight, flight, fight, freeze, and fawn responses are pointing us in a direction that we weren't able to go potentially. And we were unsupported at the time of whatever events or actions, because sometimes trauma isn't this like big thing that happens in your life. Sometimes it's something someone said to you that cut you so deep that a part of you went into hiding. A part of you didn't feel supported, didn't feel seen, didn't feel loved, didn't feel safe. And so recognizing that the what that happened doesn't matter. What matters is the support that you get after. And a lot of times these North Stars of our body's nervous system responses are stuck in place because we didn't receive support. We didn't receive guidance. We didn't have anyone to come to us and help us go through the natural ebb and flow and release of the energy at the time. And this is, with I'll say with well-meaning caregivers who don't recognize how much injury they cause with their words. It may just be they didn't know, but that doesn't matter. What matters is what's happening now for you and what you can do about that. So oftentimes these expressions of energy that has not been played out become chronic tension, chronic pain, let me say that word 3 times fast. Hypervigilance, right? That being on the edge of your seat, like you just can't sit still. And you'll recognize it in the way that people work. I find that work brings out people's trauma responses a lot. So you might see somebody at work that is always working the entire, 10-hour shift. Like they can't sit down, they can't sit still. They can't take a break. Maybe they don't take their breaks, and maybe they don't have a minute where they could feel or hear anything within themselves, right? That's hypervigilance. Hypervigilant people often are great workers because they're gonna work themselves into a coma. They work themselves so much that they end up sick and unwell and in hospitals because rest is literally needed. You need rest. But it comes out in the ways that people work, and you'll find like maybe some people are always angry at work and you're like, why are you mad about the copy machine not working? What are you gonna do? You're not gonna do anything about it. You're not the copy machine technician. We'll get the person in, like it's okay. Or this machine's broke, this other mechanical machine thing is broke and IT isn't doing what they need to. You'll find that person that's like always constantly angry. If they're triggered, they're just angry. So how you respond to the little things is often how you respond to the big things too. The thing that comes out is the thing that's there, and it is pointing to the ways in which your energy wasn't able to express at a point in time when it needed to move and shift and just ride the wave of what was happening, because again, you weren't shown how to do that. So I always say that your body is the gateway to healing because it holds the wisdom and the keys to your own personal roadmap of what you actually need. Not what I need, what you need. It is so fine-tuned to who you are and what you need. And you can begin to utilize your body as your North Star to your own healing. So you might be asking, or you might not be asking, how does your body communicate to you its needs and where you can look to and go for healing? So the body communicates in sensation. Oftentimes you might say like, oh, how are you feeling? And you're like, can't pick like happy, sad, mad, whatever other emotions there are. There's lots of emotions, but disgusted. But sometimes you need to recognize that your body isn't giving you a full emotion. It's giving you a sensation, right? You might be feeling tingly. You might be feeling buzzy. You might have a pit in your stomach. And this is something I often see with children, where children will say, my tummy hurts. Oftentimes in children, their tummy hurting is anxiety. And they haven't developed that keen sense of like, what is the, oh, my tummy hurts. And you know, you're like, oh, lay down, take a nap, do this. But it's anxiety. It's the same with us. You know, sometimes my heart feels heavy. That's probably some sadness. You know, there's a lot going on in the world right now that makes my heart absolutely just hurt. And recognizing like, ooh, my heart hurts. It feels heavy. It feels painful. It feels this. It feels that. And being in the sensation and not trying to jump to a conclusion about that sensation is one of the best ways that you can support yourself and recognize your body's own wisdom. Some of the other signs and symptoms that your body is speaking to you, these are all somatic, you know, guidelines for you to follow when you are tuning into your body as a wise keeper of your own medicine. But symptoms, maybe you feel tired. Do you feel tired after you talk to someone? Do you feel tired when you think about something? Sometimes you feel like shut down, or sometimes you feel like people will say, I have butterflies in my stomach, or, oh, my shoulders are just achy and they just won't stop aching, or I feel like I got punched in the back for some reason. You know, all these different symptoms that seem unrelated are ways that your body is speaking to you and telling you, hey, look right here. You know, look right here. All right, look right here. Like, look right in your gut. Oftentimes people feel like they have gut issues, and some of these gut issues where you're like, you know, I won't go into the details of gut issues right now, but some of the gut issues are you feeling sick to your stomach, punched in the gut feelings, right? There's a second brain in our stomachs that is a feeling, sensing keeper of energy and expression. And so when you're not expressing yourself, and that's also solar plexus energy. So I have a whole series on trauma in the chakras if you're interested in that and how that ties in to trauma in the body, trauma in the chakras and all that. And then physically, right? Another way that our body is sending us messages is the way that we physically. So you might see somebody who is rounded, you know, they're just rounded in the shoulders, their chest is caved in, and you see this a lot. And that is somebody who is literally taking their rib cage and all these protective bones and structures and trying to protect their heart, because their heart's been broken by family, by friends, by lovers, whatever it is. It could be even by pets and the loss of pets and things and grief. But you will notice like this caving in. A lot of people, when they start to try to open their heart, we talk about opening the hips, right? Opening the hips ultimately leads to opening the heart. And so many people are closed in and walled off within themselves and within their hearts because they've been so broken by the world that it's painful just to stand up straight or to even have a posture that is just a little less rounded and forward. And you'll see this in fetal position. If people sleep in the fetal position, different sleeping positions are all clues that your body is pointing to you, and it's telling you exactly what you're curling in on, exactly what you're protecting. And with the hips, you're protecting your root chakra, your reproductive spaces, all of that. So start to clue into your body and relate to it. Obviously, checking in with the messages of your body and the sensations and the feelings and the physicality and the symptoms of it are difficult because we spend a lot of time outside of our bodies, disconnected from ourselves and not truly being here. And this is a problem of society, because if you're not here and you're not with me, then where are you? You know, are you living your life? Are you experiencing your life? Or are you somewhere else, like kind of watching your life from a different purview and not really here making decisions for yourself? I think the first place to start here, because listening to your body is so important, but it's also really hard. The first place to start, honestly, is just like, where do I feel pain or tightness? Maybe looking up sensation words and seeing if there's a word that you feel right now. And as simple as that sounds, that is the place to start sometimes. It's just a little step and not the whole big step of trying to get into your body right away, because that can be a little jarring to your energy and may be a bigger trigger than you're ready for right now. Just being real with that. So the practice of somatic remembrance is the practice of remembering what your bones know. You came here knowing, and now it's just about remembering that. Recognizing that this is a lifelong journey. If this is something that resonated with you at all, please subscribe and follow me and subscribe to me on Substack, where I will be offering more somatic remembrance moments and healing transmissions and things like that over there. And more in the way of like work and stuff like that. Anyhow, until next time.